Welcome to another edition of Happening in the Community. I'm Sue Ann Taylor. Today we're going to be talking about manufacturing in Georgia. I was stunned to find out how much is actually made right here in our state, right here in our county for that matter. With us today is Jason Moss, who's with the Georgia, tell us what it is.
Georgia Manufacturing Expo.
Expo.
Yes.
So tell us what the Expo is.
Okay. On June 8th, we're going to have an expo to highlight products that are manufactured in our state. Typically when we ask, and for the past 2 years I've been going around the state asking people what products that they know of that are manufactured in Georgia. And usually I get a blank stare. You know, consumers don't know what's made here. So what this event is about is to educate our consumers about the fantastic products that we have made all around the state of Georgia.
So this show is open to the public?
It is. It's free to the public as long as they pre-register online.
Okay. So tell me about the state of manufacturing in Georgia.
Well, manufacturing in Georgia is one of the strongest parts of the economy. We've got a little over 10% of our economy is based in manufacturing, and we've got around 9,500 manufacturing facilities throughout the state. And they employ over 350,000 Georgians. Now, we've seen a lot of that manufacturing over the years go out of state and overseas, but we're beginning to see onshoring, which means they're bringing that manufacturing back to the United States because some of the challenges that they've run into working in the overseas markets.
So tell me about some of the things that I might have seen on the shelves and not realize were made right here in Georgia.
One of the examples I love to share is, let's just imagine that you walked into your favorite retail store and you saw two battery displays. One of them was Energizer and the other was Duracell, and you needed to buy some batteries for the remote control at the house. Now those are similar products and similar price, right? And we've all bought both, probably. Now, what if you knew for a fact that the AAA and the 9-volt batteries were made over in LaGrange, Georgia, and that supports over 500 Georgia families in that factory? Which one would you buy?
It would absolutely impact my buying decision, especially now, I think, with the economy being on the top of everybody's mind for the last 5 years. I think I would make that determination more so now than I probably would have 6 years ago.
Right. And there's a great trend for individuals wanting to buy local products. That's a big, it's a trend now that people are trying to find local products, and it's really difficult as a consumer to find products that are made in our state. I would challenge you to go on Google and do a lookup and see if you can find products that you could go buy in the store that are made here in Georgia. It's really tough to do that, and that's what this event is about, is to highlight the companies and some of the products that are made here to get the consumers to think about the products that are made in our state. So the expo is really an education. Now we're doing it on Saturday. I wanted to, a lot of times some of the companies have been asking, why are we doing this on Saturday? Well, one of the main reasons that we're doing it is so that the kids will be able to understand the power of manufacturing and consider possible career paths in the manufacturing industry.
What kind of career paths are available in manufacturing? You
know, that's a great question. There's some really interesting technical careers that are available in manufacturing. Manufacturing over the years has really got a bad rap. Consumers and families think that if you work in manufacturing, you're working in an old greasy sweatshop and you're really dark area and you're chained to the machine doing the same repetitive task over and over. Well, that's not what manufacturing is about today. Using robotics and computer-aided design and working with some of the latest high-tech equipment. Manufacturing is really automated, and we need engineering and people, not just engineers to work in the factories, but we need to have a skilled workforce.
What kind of skills do they have to have?
You know, some of the main skills that they need a good fundamentals in math, science, and technology. There's a STEM program, science, technology, and math, and those are some of the areas that are really needed in most any manufacturing environment.
What's the job prospect for somebody that's not coming up? Someone that's maybe been around for in the job market for 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great, that question I get asked quite a bit is what are the opportunities? If you look at it nationally, the National Association of Manufacturers recently did a study and did a survey, and they found that the average income of manufacturing careers is 16% higher than non-manufacturers across the country. So the opportunities are there, the income is there, and there's a need for skilled labor in all areas. One of the, Plant Vogel is having a really hard time getting welders, certified welders to come in there and build that plant. I mean, they're about 60 welders short to be able to even meet demand. So, and there's some great technical schools that teach hands-on skills. And that's one of the things we're trying to get our next generation to think about and to consider, because not everybody's really cut out for a 4-year career. And we need those valuable skill sets to prop up the manufacturing that we're trying to bring back to our state.
Now, what's offered by the state to encourage innovation for creating manufacturing here?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great programs that the state has put together. Go Build Georgia is the organization that's helping to find and train skilled trades.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it's going to take for manufacturing to be returned to the United States from the vast overseas that we've seen?
A great friend of mine, Clyde Strickland, he and I have been working together for several years on trying to educate consumers about the power that they have in our economy. I've said for a long time that a lot of people look for government to grow jobs, and many people look for industry to grow jobs, but really the only true job creator is the consumer. And think about that. The consumer has the ultimate power. The consumer, you can have the greatest product in the world, but if the consumer doesn't demand it, the retailer's not going to stock it on the shelf, and it's not going to be successful. So as a consumer, we all have unbelievable power to be able to impact the economy and impact manufacturing. And I believe that the change will come. It's a real simple plan. If we help change the mindset and move people away from the thrill of making a cheap purchase to pride of ownership, that's a big difference. And again, I mentioned Clyde Strickland. Clyde has recently funded a movie called The American Made Movie, and that's one of the quotes that I took from that. We will be showing that movie during the Expo, and I'm really excited about that because it'll get people to understand where our country has been, where we started out in manufacturing, all the way to where we are today, and then the possibilities. We've got two paths to choose. We can choose, we've got a consumer-driven economy, and we can choose to continue to send our money out of state and overseas, or we can decide to invest in our own products and our own companies. So it's up to us.
So tell me what people are going to experience when they come to the Expo, besides this great movie done by a young local filmmaker.
It's going to be a fun time. I mean, we're all about trying to help really bring up manufacturing and make manufacturing cool again. So we want families to experience it, but we also want to make sure that we address both sides of the market. The majority of manufacturing in Georgia is not consumer products. So it's industrial and commercial products and companies that make machines and circuit boards and plastic injection molding. So we're going to divide the hall up into two different areas. One area is going to be consumer goods, and then the other area is going to be non-consumer goods, industrial and commercial products. So as a consumer walks through the door, they'll be able to see a variety of consumer goods, and they'll be able to see things like Okabashi. Okabashi is one of my favorite stories. These guys, they manufacture shoes up in Beaufort, Georgia, and they make 22,000 pairs of shoes a day. Now, I try to talk them into giving everybody a pair of shoes. They're not going to give everybody a pair of shoes, but they will be handing out samples throughout the day. We've got several other manufacturers that we're working with pretty closely to give out samples of their products as well. And you have to come to the show to see what you'll get, but I assure you that everybody that walks through the door will be able to build that brand loyalty with locally manufactured products. Now, that's on the consumer goods side, but we're also reaching out to CEOs and to purchasing agents throughout the state to invite them to come walk through the show and find out what other goods that they can buy, because businesses are a lot like individual consumers. if given the choice, they'd rather buy local and support local companies than send the money either out of state or overseas. So this is an opportunity for companies to be able to do the same thing, and we as individuals want to do.
Now, there's a perception now that we cannot manufacture and keep pace with China. What's your response to that?
You know, I've done a fair amount of study about that, and that question comes up pretty often. Can we compete with China? There's some things that we don't have any control over. Currency manipulation is one of the top things that come up in that conversation. There's nothing that we can do about that. But we have seen that our productivity in America has gone up significantly. Now, the head count, the employee count has not kept up with productivity. So what does that tell you? It tells you that we're being more automated and being more successful with being able to do repetitive tasks through automation rather than having people to do that. So yeah, we can compete, and we're able to do that. We might not be able to compete with some of the things, unfair trade practices or whatever you want to get into about that, but being able to produce good quality products. One of the things that consumers, both individuals and businesses, need to look at is when they buy products that are not manufactured in the United States, they don't have to meet any of the standards that we have to meet as far as product safety. You've seen a lot of the toy recalls with lead-based. So there's a lot of issues that are more valuable than just money. So competition, there's no country in the world that provides a good, safe, quality product like America can.
Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, there was a lot of made in Japan products. And growing up in the 50s, this was on the heel of World War II, and certainly my grandparents would admonish us from buying what was then cheap Japanese goods.
Right.
And I know that Made in America was something that we were taught to seek. Mm-hmm. What do you think we can do to get the next generation to do that same kind of discernment?
Well, it starts with education. It starts with teaching our next generation the importance of being able to buy American goods. Right now it's difficult, like we talked about a minute ago. It's hard to find these products. But if we teach our kids the importance and make the connection with when you buy local manufactured products, you're supporting local jobs. When they make that connection, I've got a 15-year-old son, and education really works because every time I go brush my teeth and leave the water running, he gives me a hard time about it. So, the environmental training that he got through education shows up in our house every day, and sometimes he fusses at me if I don't have my seatbelt on. So education works for our next generation, and it does encourage the parents to do the things that are right. If we can get our kids to understand and to see the impact that they can have with the purchases that they make, if I'd love to be able to walk down the aisle in my local retail store and hear little Johnny tell his mom, that's not made in America, we don't want it. Mm-hmm. And that can happen, but we got to start now.
Mm-hmm. I also think, I know that brand loyalty, when I was growing up, we had a huge brand loyalty to General Electric, mm-hmm. who had a big plant across the river in Somersworth, New Hampshire, and everybody I knew somebody that worked in that plant. Mm-hmm. And it would be sacrilege to buy anything in Maine or New Hampshire that wasn't General Electric when I was mm-hmm. growing up. It was the coveted product. And how do you think we can get there? Now, of course, the product brand names, like you mentioned, what was the shoe manufacturer?
Okabashi.
Okay. Yeah. Now, that sounds like that is made anywhere but here.
Right.
And what's the largest manufacturer in Georgia?
The largest manufacturer in Georgia in industry is aerospace. So Lockheed
in consumer.
In consumer goods. Consumer goods, the largest one in Gwinnett, I'll give you that, is Vision. They make contact lenses. Okay. We're pretty familiar with those. Mm-hmm.
Where does Kia fall in?
Yeah, Kia is right in that. Actually, it's a little larger than Vision. They've got about 3,500, 4,000 employees in Kia directly, but with all the affiliated companies and associated companies, there's over 7,000 jobs that have been created in West Point just by bringing that factory online.
But again, mm-hmm. Kia is not a very Georgia-sounding name.
It does not sound Georgia. That's fact.
It doesn't sound very American,
Right.
doesn't sound very Georgia. On the other hand, how many, it's a Korean-based company.
It is.
How many Koreans are working in that plant?
Not many. I
Exactly.
just took a tour out there, and there were some, but it was the majority definitely.
But it's
were
as
locals.
American
Correct.
as any Ford.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Actually, even more American made. Now, I grew up a big Chevy guy, and when the new Camaros came out, that was top of my list. But when I went to the dealership and looked at now retailers are responding to the new desire of consumers to buy local. Now, it's neat that the Chevrolet Camaros now have on the window sticker what percentage of the car is made in North America. Okay, North America.
Okay.
Not the United States,
All
but
right.
North America. And it's about 70, I think it's 70 or 80% that's in North America. But the vast majority of that is made in Canada because that's where the plant is. So it's a little bit, I was a little bit concerned with that. But, my next vehicle purchase and many going forward will be Kia because it supports our country, our state.
Our state.
And it supports jobs right here. And right now, Kia is the only manufacturer in the state of Georgia producing automobiles.
Now, what do you think the impact could be on future companies making a plant here if this catches on?
Right. That's one of the goals for this event is to be able to make a very comfortable place for manufacturers to come. Because if we can build a database and identify a couple 100,000 consumers that raise their hand and say, I want to buy locally manufactured goods, that compared to any other state around us, if we can offer that to a manufacturer, I think that would definitely lend a lot of credibility to the state and encourage those manufacturers to locate here rather than some of the competitive states in our region.
So how are you going to judge the success of your first expo? This is your first one,
Yeah,
right?
this is the first event.
So what are your goals?
The goal for the event is to make sure that all of the manufacturers that have stepped up and that are exhibiting at the event feel like they got their value. Because we are making this free to the consumers, the exhibitors and manufacturers are paying for a space to show their wares. And we want to make sure that they're really happy about that. And we want to make sure that the consumers, when they walk out the door, they understand that, that they can have an impact and to make that brand loyalty, to make the connection. And that's a little bit hard to really nail down and manage a number to that, but that's the goal. That's the goal, is to get the consumers on board and understand that they can make a difference.
As you walk through the aisles of, Home Depot or, one of our Georgia retailers here, what's the biggest surprise that people are going to have that's made in Georgia?
Oh man, the surprises go on and on and on. One of them, Husqvarna. Now, does that sound like a Georgia-made
Not
product?
at all.
Not at all. Not
Right
at
there
all.
with Kia.
Right. Down in McRae, Georgia, they make snow blowers, they make lawnmowers, and they make weed eaters. And they employ a great number of people down in McRae. And
American flag manufacturer?
there's a great American flag manufacturer right here in Duluth, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
It is the Flag Company, and we're working on having some conversations with them.
All right.
But something as simple as Clorox and the Bounce dryer bars to
Toilet manufacturer?
Yeah, there's a company down in Clayton County. It's Toto. If you go in the airport, the Atlanta airport, in most commercial buildings, you'll see, and now they actually have those products in Home Depot. It's TOTO. It's a Japanese company, but they produce. It's pretty amazing. They bring the raw materials in, just basically dirt, and on the other end of the factory, they come out these shiny, commercial toilets. Now, it might not sound sexy, but let me tell you, I've toured that facility, and that is an amazing process. And the automation that they have, and the employees that they support.
And they've also created environmentally friendly design.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things that they came up with is the automated flush heads. So when you walk up or use the device, it sends out a laser to identify a body that's there. As soon as it does that, that uses energy. But they built a little generator inside of that, inside of the pipe. So when the water comes through, it turns a generator that charges the battery that keeps the light going. So they don't have to put batteries in and they don't have to do any wiring. It's really neat. The technology is just amazing, you know, and there's tons of companies out there like that. Okabashi we had mentioned.
They make flip-flops.
They
right?
make flip-flops, and they make a lot of flip-flops. About, like I said, 22,000 pair a day out of that facility up in Beaufort. We've got great bedding and some things that you're real familiar with. If you go into Home Depot, you'd see Shaw and Mohawk flooring, Shaw carpet.
Famous forever down here.
That's our guys. And holiday season Claxton fruitcakes. Everybody needs a Claxton fruitcake made down in Claxton, Georgia.
Okay.
There's tons and tons of products that are made right here. I've got, and that's one of the things that we want to do is all of the companies that are going to be exhibiting at the event will be listed through the Gwinnett Daily Post in a show guide. And in this show guide, it'll highlight all of those companies and the products that they produce. So on the week before the event, we're going to send out in the newspapers of Henry, Clayton, Gwinnett, and all the papers that are attached to Gwinnett to 154,000 homes this directory of products. And you will be surprised by some of the products that you'll see on there. And so that's the next step, is to make sure that consumers have that list. If they don't happen to get it in the newspaper, when they come to the show, we're going to provide them that list as well.
Okay.